Welcome back to In Pursuit of Magic, where we explore the things that inspire us, connect us, and the magic we find along the way. I'm Matthew Medina, and today's very special guest was born in Queens, New York, and discovered her love of performing at a young age through musical theater. She broke out with her role as young Anna in the Netflix hit Gentefied, then stole scenes as Emilia Castelli, the sharp, hilarious older sister in the critically acclaimed HBO Max sitcom Gordita Chronicles. She trained at the legendary Groundlings Theater in Los Angeles, sharpening her improv skills, and was recently Ana Diaz in the highly acclaimed HBO Max series The Pitt. Savannah is the real deal, a versatile, passionate performer who brings genuine warmth and comedy to every role. I'm very excited to welcome Savannah Nicole Ruiz. Savannah, thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. Looking at your background and your experience and some of the roles you've been part of, it's been really cool, your journey. And as a fellow Puerto Rican and someone who grew up in Queens, it's really cool to see someone like you living the dream and doing what you love. And I heard a little bit of early inspirations and you knowing what you wanted to do and seeing stuff like the calls for Disney Channel, Nickelodeon. And I relate because I also wanted to at that age, and I begged my family, and different response of I don't know, it's not really da da da.
Kind of a big ask. It's kind of
Yeah.
a big
So I'm curious for you, what was that journey like? Just feeling so inspired and knowing what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've just always been so moved by storytelling in all of its forms. I think it has a lot to do with my mom encouraging me to read growing up. And because of that, I think I've been a bookworm my whole life. I still am. And also when I was young, I have so many memories of watching a movie, like, I'm talking, like, 4 or 5 years old, watching movies and crying at the end all the time, even if it wasn't, like, a sad ending, and I think it's because storytelling just resonated so deeply with me, and I kind of knew, like, I had this yearning for to be a part of something like that, but, I was so young that I didn't know, like, exactly how to put that into words or, like, how to translate that into something that I could do. But, so living with that for a few years, and then I remember I was in like 4th or 5th grade when I saw a flyer for a local after-school acting program, and I was like, "Okay, this might be like the storytelling outlet that I need." And my mom signed me up, and that was the beginning of this journey that has led me to where I am today.
It's incredible too, because it shows that you had this drive from the start of knowing what you wanted and going after it and then seeing an opportunity. And I think that's the biggest thing, that there
Mhm.
may be opportunities now and then that pop up, but it's up to you to take the action and really move on it. And you
Yes.
did, and you made it
Yeah,
happen.
I know, and I'm very proud of myself for that. Imagine if I didn't, who knows where I'd
Yeah.
be.
And I think it's that love of storytelling. And you speaking about it is something I very much relate to because I've always loved to read, and I find the power in stories is a big reason why I started this podcast. And wanting to be part of that too and to somehow give that back because I think people who love stories and movies and shows and reading really appreciate the power that they hold and how they can affect you and change you and help you grow. And to be now part of that process is an incredible gift. Just partly why I love to share other people's stories like yours. So it's really great to hear about your start and how you were first inspired. And I know part of that was musical theater training. So I'm curious about that, your experience and love for it, and how that translated when you started getting on screen roles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that I have a background in musical theater because it really laid the foundation for everything that I know about acting and performing. And even it helps even in like situations where I'm being interviewed, like it really covers all aspects. And going from musical theater and being prepared to make a mistake in front of a live audience for 2 hours on end while also singing and dancing to then going to a film set where the camera is right here and you can yell line as much as you'd like, it's like, "Hey, this is kinda easy." Like, this is easier than I thought it would be. And I definitely like, the one thing that I recommend to young actors who are trying to get into it is start off on stage because that'll really give you a good foundation to and prepare you for even outside of acting, just a million life skills that you learn being on stage and working with so many different people. it's been so great, and I miss the stage, and I do wanna go back someday, somehow. I'm sure the opportunity will come when it comes, but yeah, I always think about my musical theater days, and it's I cherish it very much.
Well, that just makes me think because there's so many shows that are on right now and being talked about. The Tonys just happened,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if there's any current shows that are on Broadway or off Broadway that you would love to be part of.
I mean, Romeo and Juliet would be amazing. That would be so much fun, but honestly, like, if Broadway calls, I'll do anything. Like, I'll be a tree in the back. Like, I don't I'm not too picky. I'll do anything. So, hopefully one day, maybe I need to go to New York soon.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers because there's a lot of roles out there, and we need more people like you on stage. So I'm
Thank you.
excited for what it can hold. And going on to screen, I was just gonna say, like, it is a different experience. I mean, I even hear from Broadway performers that first started, and one of their first things was going on a tour, which I've learned is an athletic feat all on its own.
Yes. Yeah.
And then navigating screen and dealing with that schedule, which is different pacing and different expectations, but a different set of challenges is always very interesting. And so I'm curious, when you first started out, what was the biggest lessons you learned in your experience?
I think the biggest difference was that musical theater was more of like a physically taxing experience, whereas film and TV was a lot more mental because everything is so fast paced with film and TV. You don't get that same amount of rehearsal time. You kind of just you know what you're filming the night before, and then you go to set and then you work it out while you're on set with the director and your scene partners. So it's been a very different experience, and I think it's more of a mental hurdle. I just remember being so like, when I was working on a consistent set, I was so tired after every day, but, like, in the best way, and not in, like, "Oh my god, my body aches," but, like, "Oh my god, I need to, like, unscrew my head and, like, take my brain out and put it on the counter," that kinda thing. But, yeah, it's crazy, and it started off as a challenge and something that I think I really grew from and something that I'm still learning from to this day.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I've heard also the difference between a show and a movie, where a movie is a little slower paced
Yeah.
sometimes than a show that really has a really quick turnaround. Which makes me curious about your time on the Gordita Chronicles, which was such a great show, and I'm curious what that was like being with such an amazing cast, but also just learning the day to day of being on a show like that.
Yeah. Oh, it was genuinely a perfect experience. Especially that was my first like big role, my first like introduction to the industry, and to this day it has been my favorite. The people that I met on this set, and also like we had filmed in Puerto Rico, so you're surrounded by your people, and it's just you can't beat it. The island is beautiful, and everyone that I was working with was so talented. And that's my favorite thing is to learn from the people that I'm acting with because it's like I'm getting firsthand information. Like I'm taking notes after everything you're saying. Like it's so cool, and I made so many friends on that set, and yeah, it was just a great experience. And I think all of that really helped me, like, all of the people around me helped me acclimate to this, like, new world where it was, like, the schedule was different every day, and it was very much, like it got me very comfortable with spontaneity, which I'm used to, like, being prepared for everything all the time, but there were days where the weather would get involved, and then we'd have to switch around which scene we do, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't study this scene that we're about to film, I was prepared to do the other one." So just, like, getting quicker with, adapting to new circumstances too has been something that's been really beneficial to me. But yeah, oh my god, I think about that experience every day, and I'm always looking back at pictures. It was just such a beautiful time.
That's so interesting that you mentioned the weather too being a factor, because I didn't even think about that. But yeah, filming in Puerto Rico, and what time of year was it? Because was it hurricane season?
Yeah, it was actually, and thank God we didn't get any, but it was from September to December-ish. So, like, we were just, like, getting out of hurricane season, but it was still, like, raining all the time. So, and I didn't consider the weather to be, like, something that would interfere either until I had no choice but to consider that, So it was definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's so funny to think about, because then I also think of, like, the fun side of it, that you're in Puerto Rico, that it's a island, there's so many places to go and food to eat and how beautiful that is, but then, yeah, there's the flip side of things can change with the schedule.
Exactly, exactly, and I think that the fun side, like, far outweighed anything negative. Like, I had a condo, like, right next to the beach, so, like, after work, like, when I was in a brain fog from, like, so many hours on set, I would just go to the beach with my friends, and it was just, like, it was almost too perfect. Like, it's almost funny how perfect that experience was.
It's almost like you got a job and a vacation at the same time, which is like the
Exactly.
perfect experience to have.
And none of it felt like work, which is I know people say that all the time, but I really mean it.
No, that is the best feeling, and I think the cast and crew that you're with kind of makes or breaks that a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
And speaking of, your character's sister and then her have a really beautiful dynamic and funny one, and I'm curious, what did you draw on from your real life to kinda create that dynamic on screen?
Well, it was so easy. I have a younger brother who was the same age gap as me and Olivia, so playing that was so easy and fun because all I had to do was imagine that I was being annoyed by my younger brother and I was there. Like, I didn't have to do much character work to get into that headspace, but it was so much fun. Also, she's just so talented and getting to play off of her and, like, improvise with her, and a lot of the times the scenes would start off one way, like, on paper and then turn into something so much more energized and fun and dynamic on screen. And I think that chemistry is really what, you know, makes something like that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it doesn't hurt that you guys were kind of in a beautiful place to kinda spend time, maybe offset, and so were there a lot of experience like that where you bonded as, like, a real family?
Yes, all of us were together on the weekends all the time. It was almost like like my parents were like, "You never get tired of these people?" And I'm like, "No, I want it. These are my friends. Like, I love them so much." So yeah, we would take like day trips to like Arecibo on the island. Like, we'd go everywhere, Old San Juan, eating good food. Like, we were always together on that set, on and off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it then translates onto the screen, and it
Mhm.
creates, the chemistry that we see, which is a beautiful thing and really, really special. And, you've mentioned, I think in the past, wanting to explore different kinds of roles like drama as well as the comedy. And so I'm curious if there's any specific types of characters or genres you're really wanting to tackle next.
Yeah, I mean, I wanna do something so emotional and dramatic. I don't have anything, like, specific in mind, but, I feel like starting off in theater and, all the roles that I've had since then have been very lighthearted and fun and sitcom-y, and then so to challenge myself with kind of like a darker and more mature side of film and TV would be really nice.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such a natural progression too, coming from theater where you get to explore a lot of different types of emotions. Even in roles that may be more comedic, there's moments of like real deep drama and emotion and sentiment on stage. So yeah, I could see that happening. I'm curious too, like if you've ever been tempted to get into writing and maybe write a role like that yourself or a story.
Yeah, I mean, I love reading, which I think directly ties into my love for writing. It's another thing I always say that, like, in another life, I feel like I would be an author just because I love it so much. But then it's kind of like the Sylvia Plath fig tree analogy where it's like you have this fig and this thing you wanna do and this thing you wanna do, and it's like, which one do I do first? Do I do them at the same time? Like, but I think eventually, like, I do wanna create my own stuff, and because also, like, there's a lack of representation for Latinas in Hollywood, and I want to make or play a character at some point that is dynamic outside of her heritage, like, that where that's not, like, the main focus and the main plot line. I feel like we don't see a lot of that, so, yeah, I'm always open to trying different mediums of storytelling.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful thing too. I hear from a lot of Latinos in Hollywood who are adamant about not wanting to play the same types of roles, not wanting to play stereotypes, and that's hard because there's a lot of what the roles that are being written out there are. And looking for the right one and breaking out of that box and just being seen as a human first without losing your identity is really unfortunately difficult sometimes. And I'm glad to see that there are more Latinos getting into behind the camera work and writing and producing and creating because it's creating more opportunities and more ideas and voices. So I am very curious then. where that may end up leading you because of your love for reading.
I
I'm
know.
curious, what do you love to read most? Like, what's your genre?
My genre since I was a little kid, it was like fairy tales. I love anything that's very like magical or like my favorite book when I was a kid was Ella Enchanted. So like that kind of anything that makes me feel like I could be like someone could be reading me a bedtime story. Anything fantastical and magical. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, same here. I think I grew up doing the same things, whether it was
Mhm.
watching Disney movies or reading books within
Yes.
that realm. A lot of fantasy. I'm into the Fourth Wing series now. Like all those
Yes.
kind of books. Like I'm, yeah, right there
Yeah,
with you. And I feel like it just opens up not only your imagination, but the fact that they're human stories just in a fantasy world. I think it's a beautiful
exactly.
thing.
I think yeah, and my favorite thing is recognizing those real life parallels under the guise of dragons and fairies and demons and that sort of thing. Because it's like it's not so different than real life,
No. Do you ever
unfortunately.
that reading these stories and maybe even identifying with some of the characters or what they may be going through or feeling, does it ever influence your performances and characters that you're playing and how you approach them?
100%, especially like when I was younger and starting out, like when I was 15, 16, I didn't have a lot of like crazy life experience to pull from. So a lot of the time, when I was playing a role that was like a character who's deeply traumatized by something, that sort of dramatic thing, I would pull from the books that I read and the experience of those characters because you can kind of tap into that easier because you're spending so much time in the narrator's head. And it starts to feel like these experiences are your own. So whenever I come up empty, I know because there's this acting technique where you pull from a real life experience. And if I feel like I'm lacking in that area, I turn to stories and characters that I've read about. I definitely also think it's helped me to understand characters more too, because, when you're reading in the narrator's perspective for so long, you kind of like are able to fill in the gaps of, when you get an audition and you don't have a lot of context, you can fill in those gaps and write your own journal entry in the perspective of this character. So I think it's just really like broadened my horizons as far as like understanding character.
I love that because, and I think I have a deep appreciation for people who really enrich their own understanding of the world, whether it's through books or more movies and shows and things like that. Because I've occasionally heard of like an actor who doesn't really have any knowledge of anything, and they're just like, "Oh, I never heard of that," or "I've never heard of this person," which it's okay, but I think when people are really just entrenched in it because of their love for it and they know a lot about one thing at least, it just makes it so much more richer, and so much more beautiful, and it really comes through in performances.
Yeah, I agree. And I think reading is so important whether you're trying to be a performer or not. I think it teaches you empathy in a way that is like so I mean, I can't believe people are not talking about this all the time. Like it really teaches you like how to be a good person, I think. No matter the genre of book that you're reading. I think it's so important.
It's so funny you say that because I said that to someone recently, how I think stories and reading especially teaches empathy and understanding in a way that you may not get just through life experience. And to be able to understand another character and feel what they feel and see things differently is a chance for growth and a chance for change in the world. I mean,
Mhm.
I loved reading so much that I would be collecting these books on my shelves as if they were like an arsenal and a how-to guide for life and an understanding of the world, and still do.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to gain that understanding. So completely agree that that's so important and so special. And I think it comes through also on movies and shows and seeing performances and like characters that you've played that people can watch and gain some understanding of the world that may not be their world, but now they can understand a little bit more because they're human stories.
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful way to put it is having your books as your arsenal of knowledge and like having that access. It's so important.
Yeah, and like I said, with movies and shows, that also happens too. And that brings me to your character of Ana Diaz on the Pit season two. It was such a realistic, real world problem and
Yeah.
story of a family who cannot pay for medical treatment and are trying to figure out how to make that work. And it's devastating. And it's funny because some plot points in that reminded me of something that I know someone I know went through. where they were sick and they made a GoFundMe, and one of their family members like, "What are you doing? Take that down." And so it was very close to home and very under relatable, I think.
Mhm.
And I wonder for you, what was that like carrying that arc in 3 episodes, but also leaving it in a way where it's like it's slightly resolved, there's a little help, but it's not fixed either.
Yeah, I think, well, what I really enjoyed about this whole experience and playing Anna is how compassionate she is and how determined she is and how much she loves her family. And as sad as it is, she's so young, but she's trying to hold everything together. And I think, like you and a lot of people that I've interacted, they recognize themselves in her. It's unfortunately a really relatable experience. And even though the circumstances are very specific, I think the emotions that she feels, the love and the fear and the wanting to help the people that you care about, I think all of that is so universal. And it's honestly what really like made me excited to play this role too, because that subplot is so relevant right now and so needed.
Yeah, it was deeply moving even just from the first scene that you're in, and, you know, her parents first wondering, like, "Where were you? Like, what are you doing?" Whatever, and I just thought immediately she's working through it. She's processing. Like she
Yeah,
needs a moment. And then her love for her dad, just seeing that come through was very touching. So seeing that whole experience and them go through that as a family was very moving. And I think and hope it affected others watching to give them some more understanding of what the situation is out there, and it's never as simple as we think, especially with medical stuff. But yeah, it's great to know that it was so touching for you to act through and to experience, because it's such an important story, I think, also that doesn't always have a resolved ending with a bow on top of it.
exactly. And I think that's what's so different and so important about a show like The Pit is that it's so realistic that it's at times very devastating because there, like you said, there's no bow on top of, like there's no like perfect happy ending. And that's a very real experience that people have all the time. And it's important that it's so mainstream. It's so mainstream and that so many people are seeing this. This is just like my subplot was just one of like many, many different ones in the season. And all of them are equally as important. And I think that's like we need more shows like The Pit.
Absolutely. And I think when it shows reality, it gives people more understanding and empathy, like you were saying.
100%.
And on the flip side of such a serious role, you trained at the Groundlings Theater for improv, which
Yes.
sounds like it was a lot of fun. So I'm curious how that skill has helped you on set, especially like in a fast paced environment.
Uh, Thank God for improv training. I my confession is that I hate improv. I like to be prepared for everything. I like to know exactly what I'm about to say. So when I'm thrown a curveball, I always kind of flounder at first and like am like, "Oh my god, okay. Take a deep breath, let's adapt," that sort of thing. But training at the Groundlings it was such a fun, like, goofy experience, and it really helped me to sort of be able to take these curveballs that happen. Like, a lot of the times on set, it'll be like, "We're gonna change this monologue that you have, we're gonna change the whole monologue. So this is what you're actually gonna say." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I have to, like, adjust and adapt really quickly. And also, like, when directors are like, "This next take, I just want you to have fun with it. I just want you to play around." And then I'm like, "But, like, what do you mean? Can you be more specific?" So, it's those things that, like, it really stresses me out, but once I'm kind of, like, in this headspace for it, and also, like, being on set and fully immersed in whatever world you're in, surrounded by your castmates really helps too. Like, when it's like a self-tape instruction and it's like improvise for a minute and I'm like, okay, I'm staring at my blank walls in my room and my bright lights and I'm like, what is it, like what am I supposed to do here? So but it's interesting. I have a love-hate relationship with improv, but it's so important. It's so needed, unfortunately for me.
Well, it's funny because it becomes a skill set and like break glass in case of emergency situations, I think. But
Yes.
I had done a little improv in acting class, and I think I felt the same anxiety where I was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen next, and I need to be ready. Like I need to be ready for it. And do I go funny? Do I play it small to try to adjust? Like what's going on? But then I think the practice I've found that I think I've gotten better at is when I go to a Disney park and I interact with the characters because they are experts at improv
Yes.
and they will start the conversation and create a story. And
Mhm.
I, for whatever reason, just ease into that. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, because I know the world, I think, like you said, once you know the world, you know who you're talking to, what's going on, it's kind of like, all right, I'm in it. I'm good.
You can immerse yourself. And that's so funny that you bring up the Disney actors because whenever I see them on my feed, I'm like, oh my God, how are you doing this? Like, and I know there are some people that are just evil and will come up and try to like, mess with you. And it's like,
Yeah.
how do you keep your composure? Like, how do you stay a perfect princess when people are testing you? I feel like I could never do that.
Yeah. I mean, I almost wonder, when actors who are not known for improv, they're just doing normal roles, when people approach them and are calling them by their character name. And it's just
Yeah.
like, no, like,
It must be such a strange experience.
yeah. But it's so funny to think about because yeah, they are tested a lot, which is difficult. And I feel like, or I'm wondering actually, if your experience with improv, do you ever feel like the other improv actors are trying to have fun and test you in their way, not to be jerks, but just to have fun?
Yes, all the time. I feel like, especially, like, people that are better at me, better than me at improv, I'm like, "Okay, like, you're just showing off. You're just showing off, and you're trying to embarrass me," which I know is not true, it just is how it feels sometimes. But, yes, totally, there have been instances where I'm like, "Just go easy on me, go easy on me here," like, I'm trying to do the yes and, like, it's so funny.
It's like they're trying to make you break, like it's
Yes,
SNL, and it's like, please don't make me break.
like yeah, exactly.
Well, we talked a little bit about beyond acting, your love for reading and your interest in writing. And so I'm curious how these creative outlets influence each other,
Mhm.
especially now that we said how the reading can influence the acting. And I'm wondering how acting may influence your reading now and that experience and writing.
Well, my favorite thing, and this is kind of how I determine if I am really enjoying a book, is if I'm reading it and then I'm like picturing myself in a scene as the main character and I'm like saying the lines in my head. I'm like, okay, this is like five-star book. Like that's kind of my scale. If I'm reading it and I want to say the words, that's how I know that I'm really enjoying something. So it definitely informs it. I think reading, writing, and acting are all so connected. It's really like a circle with these things, and same thing with, like, reading really informs my love for writing. I don't think I would be so interested in writing if I wasn't an avid reader, and then also to be able to write, you have to read everything. You have to read
Yeah.
favorites, you have to read outside of your comfort zone. It's all connected in a very beautiful way.
Well, if you were to write a novel yourself one day, would it be in the fantasy realm?
I think it would. I think it would have to be. I feel like yes, yeah, it would have to be fiction and it would have to have magic and romance and fairies and all of these things that I grew up loving reading because I feel like that's also what I've been the most immersed in as far as like storytelling. So, yeah, I think I would do that.
Well, you know it well. Like you said, I think when you know
Mhm.
that world, you know what to write and you know what works, what doesn't.
Mhm. Mhm. This is true.
Well, looking back, you have talked a little bit about advice you would give to others following a dream, but I'm wondering what advice you would give to your younger self when you were just starting out and dreaming big.
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. I would tell her to just sit tight. Don't like be a kid and then I'll like do the work for you. Like I like sit tight and have fun because I'm doing it. There was a point when I was like 14, 13 or 14 where I was really like I was not involved in the industry at all. I was still, doing theater and everything and I felt like I had failed, which is crazy because I like, "Girl, you're 14." Like, you have your whole life ahead of you. So I wish I could, like, take her by the hands and be like, "Calm down, like, your time will come when you're ready." Like, I would just reassure her that, like, everything's gonna fall into place.
Do you find that part of that journey also was never knowing what's going to come next? And have you ever been surprised by twists and turns of things that didn't work out but ended up being great?
Yeah, I think I don't know what to expect even now. I have no idea what's ever going on with the industry and with acting. And I think that's kind of beautiful because if you kind of have your whole life mapped out and you can see every step of the way, it's like, where's the fun in that? And maybe that's me trying to cope with the unknown. I don't know. But that's genuinely how I feel. So yeah, I think the not knowing it can be hard at times, but I think it's very necessary, especially for an endeavor like this, like a creative endeavor.
Absolutely. And it's a quote that I say a lot from the movie Tomorrowland, and I share with others that it's the one scene where she's a kid and she's looking at the planetarium and talking about going out there to explore space. And wanting to go out there. And her parents are like, well, what if nothing's out there? She's like, well, what if everything is out there? And it sounds like that's your view on your life and your journey so far, which I think is beautiful and makes sense given what you're interested in. Because I was raised the same way and raised myself the same way. So I think very similarly. And I think that's probably what has gotten you to where you are. I mean, what do you think has kept your light and fire going, even in those hard moments where maybe other people would have stopped?
Yeah, it's tricky as facing so much rejection, but it comes with the territory. And I think having a support system outside of it and having interests and things that are not related to your one main goal is so important in, sustaining your mental health and wanting to keep going because acting is and always has been everything to me, but it's not everything to me, like I will survive without it. And I think that's what's really given me the courage to keep going. And I think also like a lot of people say that you kind of have to grow a thick skin when you're pursuing an industry like this. But there was a quote from one of my favorite authors, Tahira Mafi, where she was saying that in order to like pursue a creative endeavor, you have to hold on to your thin skin and you have to be able to maintain your humanity and your compassion and your complexity in order to create art that resonates. So I think I don't beat myself up when I feel bad about not booking something and I'm like, "Oh, well, I shouldn't be so hurt by this. I need to like grow a thicker skin." I think it's good to feel all of that because that informs your performance. And that is just like I treat every experience as like another dollar in the piggy bank that is acting experiences, that you can use when you finally do book that big role that's really going to impact people.
Yeah, one lesson I think people have been sharing is treat the things that don't work out, the auditions, the self tapes, all of that as the work, as the
Mhm.
process, as part of it, not the in between. And someone once gave me the advice that if you're nervous or if you're sad about something, it's because you care, and
Yeah,
caring is a good thing.
100.
So it seems like that's where your head is at, which I think is, yeah, definitely what has got you to where you are now and following this dream. And you have a couple of upcoming projects that I wanted to ask about, both Erica's Erotica and The Last Time. So what
Yes.
can you tell us about them?
So, okay, I'll start with Erica's Erotica. Erica's Erotica is a short film and it's very reminiscent of like a ladybird type of movie where there's this young, insecure teenage girl that is kind of discovering things about herself, about womanhood, about getting older. And I think it's a very beautiful story. And I'm so excited for everyone to see it. And when it finally comes out, it was one of the most fun experiences I've had on a set, especially because so many people behind the camera were women. And I think that's a level of understanding, especially when you're telling a story about womanhood that is very, very necessary. And it's a completely different experience, like having so many women behind the camera that you can like feel comfortable asking certain questions to, or like you have experiences that are already informed because, you all have that in common. So that was a great experience, Erica's Erotica. And then the last time is a horror movie that I'm in, and I'm so excited for that to come out too. I had so much fun doing it. I mean, any role that I get to wear prosthetics and do crazy things and scream a bunch is so much fun for me. It was such a different experience too, and it's very like this I would compare to, like, a live performance in the way that it's, like, physically draining 'cause it's a very active thing participating in a horror film. So, yeah, I can't wait till both of them come out, and then I can talk about them more with spoilers.
I love the range of genres that you're part of too,
Yeah.
between drama, comedy, and then horror. And as a horror lover, I have to ask, so is there blood in the film? And are you someone who likes fake blood or like you can't stand it?
So, of course, there's blood in the film. Do I like it? No. I don't even like horror movies that much, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's not my cup of tea. It's a completely different experience filming it. It's a lot less scary because I remember, like, before I had done anything horror related, I was like, "I'm too scared." Like, I can't even watch a horror movie in my bedroom, like, I'm so scared. But it ended up being not scary. It's more annoying than anything. Having, like, prosthetics on you and then, like, the shower after, like, a shoot day where you're, like, covered in, like, goo and blood and, like, you're so, like, sticky and gross, that I could do without, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, it's funny. I've heard there's a lot of either you either love it or you hate it. It's one or
Yeah,
the other. And it depends how much is on you, how long you've had it on you, because it starts to get sticky and caked
right,
with dirt, and it's a whole
yeah,
thing.
and when blood is being shot at you all day and when it gets in your mouth, it's like, "Okay, this is a little too far." But it's all for the story.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it also creates stories for you to talk about.
100%.
Well, I'm very excited to learn more about it and to see it. And now I'm curious, what are some dream collaborators or bucket list roles that you may have?
Uh, Dream collaborators, I my dream director to work with is Greta Gerwig. I love the way she tells stories. I think to work with her would be a dream. Barbie and Little Women are like in my top 5 movies of all time. She like understands women and girls on a way that like can't be fabricated, you know? And there's an authenticity there with her stuff that is so inspirational. And dream role, I think so my favorite movie growing up was Jim Henson's Labyrinth. I love that movie. So if they ever did like a reboot or something, I would love to play Sarah. She's like my dream role. I mean, I'll play a goblin, I don't care. Like I'll do anything to be in it. But yeah, that's that those are like my big 2 that I always think about.
Wow, it's funny. I'm surprised they have not made a remake of that or made it into a stage musical.
Yes, and that would be it would be perfect for stage. I mean, the song's already there is so good. Like it would be perfect.
Well, maybe they're just waiting for someone to write it. So you may want to write it.
I guess I have to step up.
You're gonna have to. I'm just saying.
Dang. All right, I'll do it.
You could probably put together an ace team with some of the people you've worked with
Yeah.
and other collaborators.
Yes, exactly. I just gather everyone I know. All right, this has to happen.
We're making it. I already see it. It's gonna
Yeah.
be here in New York. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yep. Keep an eye out. It's coming.
Well, I have to ask about advice you would give to others who either feel stuck or feel overwhelmed by their dreams and aren't sure if they're on the right path in terms of where they belong or feel like they don't deserve to be in the room, which I think is something that a lot of people struggle with, especially when they're starting out
Mhm.
and feeling like who am I? Like I'm not any of these people. Like I'm supposed to talk to that person or connect with that or go for this and are kind of afraid of their dream. What advice would you give to them?
Well, I would say that that is totally an experience that I relate to, first of all, being like wanting something so bad, but then having that like unsure feeling where it's like, but am I meant for this? Do I deserve this? It's that like imposter syndrome that always kind of creeps in. And it's funny because it doesn't go away even when you're on a set being validated, being told that your craft is good and that you're exactly where you're meant to be, it still can like creep in and be like, when are they gonna find out I'm not supposed to be here? Like, when are they gonna fire me? But I think really like you just have to trust your instincts. I think that is the best thing to do. And like I think the minute you are not having fun, try something else. And if it calls you back, it calls you back. I think ultimately everybody ends up, you know, where they should be as far as like their dreams and what they want if you just keep at it and you trust yourself and you trust your instincts and trust your craft because a lot of people pursuing creative industries have put in the work and have put in the training and that doesn't just go away, you know? So I think yeah, just have faith in yourself and give yourself grace. And also something that is kind of crazy to think, but always is a little reassuring is that there are people that are worse than you that are in those rooms, you know? So it's like it's never impossible for you to get to where you want to be.
Completely agree. And as you were describing that, I was thinking of people in those positions feeling the call to be in those rooms and to step inside them, and you feel that call for a reason. It's
Mhm.
who you are. It's something that's inside you. And it's funny that I thought of this, but I was just thinking of the Disney movie Hercules, and from a young age, he felt like he belonged somewhere else. But even then, when he found out that he was the son of Zeus, it's not like they accepted him right away. He was like he still had to work there, and but he knew he belonged there, which was a beautiful thing, and still found his own place within that, somewhere in between, which I just saying it now makes a lot of sense, I think, especially in a creative industry of finding where you belong specifically, because
Mhm.
I hear the advice a lot that the people surrounding you are very important, number one, who you choose to surround yourself with. But when you step in that room, you're bringing something that's only you.
Yes.
There may be a lot of people who are great, but they're not going to be you.
They're not gonna be you. Yeah, and that's something that's so important to cling to, and I think a lot of actors fall into this trap where it's like, "I want to be just like this actor or this actor," and, like, they try to take things from other places, but you really have to, like, bring it from whatever is inside, bring that out because that is what sets you apart from everybody else. And it's hard to say that. It's like easier said than done because when you live with yourself and you know yourself, you're like, okay, like you're not impressed by,
Yeah.
the things that you already know or your little quirks or things like that, but other people will be. And you just have to trust that.
It's funny you say that too, because doing this podcast, I've learned whenever I do someone's intro, a lot of times they're like surprised and like flustered or like shy and embarrassed about it. They're like, oh, that was a lot. And I'm just like, well, you did a lot.
You've
Like,
done that. Yeah.
have your flowers. So it's amazing because, yeah, I think we often forget what we've been able to accomplish in our lives. And it's important to remind ourselves.
Yeah, it's good to look outside yourself sometimes and kind of get a bird's eye view of everything that you've done and all the work you've put in. I think it really helps give some compassion to yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the magic. And I wanted to ask about community because I feel like that's such a big part of anyone's life. But I think especially when you're in a creative space, it can often feel like a very lonely journey, even though there's so many other people with the same dream and trying to do the same thing. So, what has the role of community and other people played in your life and career?
Yeah, I mean, the friends that I do have in the industry, we're all kind of spread out across the US. So it's like I'm not seeing them every day, but to have them to talk to about things that only they would understand is so, so reassuring. But I think even more important is having people that are in your life that have no idea about any of it. That way you get like a real escape from, the work side of everything. I think my friends and my family are so, so important to me and they keep me so grounded and excited to live because a lot of the times like after Gordita Chronicles after that got canceled I felt very lost and like I it felt like my life was kind of in this waiting period that I didn't expect and I didn't know what to do but having those people and these things that you love to do with them outside of acting, I think is so important. So community, like I don't know where I would be without my friends and family.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the motivation that keeps us going when things are tough,
Mhm.
and it's
Yep.
very important.
Yeah.
And, speaking of magic, that brings me to my last two questions, which is where do you find magic in the world? And how do you hope to create magic for others?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. To bring them back, my family and my friends are I have the most magical experiences just being around them, laying on the couch, watching movies with them, going to the park. I like to go to the park with my friends and we sit on the swings and talk for hours. Like there's so much magic in that, in the way that it makes me feel. It makes me feel alive. It's so like rejuvenating. I feel like recharged around my favorite people. But then also like in my favorite movies and TV shows. I think there's so much magic in that because when something affects me in like a really profound way, it just makes me want to pursue this even more intensely, Because to be able to be a part of something that has even like the smallest amount of impact as some of my favorite films have had on me is like the end goal for me. So, yeah.
It's so amazing hearing you talk like this because it's exactly how I think and why I started this podcast. So
That's
it's
so
very
great.
beautiful.
Yeah,
And so
I'm
thank
glad.
you for sharing your magic and being a magic maker because I'm inspired and I feel very seen and understood, which, you know, again, one of the biggest reasons I started this podcast was for other people to be inspired and not feel so alone in how they feel and view the world. But I keep getting surprised by how much that's been affecting me. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on and sharing your story. Very inspired by everything. And normally I wrap up by asking my guests to say their name and to let everyone know that's listening to go out there and do some magic. So I would love for you to say your name and tell them.
Okay. I'm Savannah Ruiz, and go out there and chase your magic.
You heard her. Till next time, everybody.